Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking out time to join us today. I'm Saleha Mariam, product marketer at Lead Square, also your host for the day. Today, we're breaking down the future of call centers and also how you can navigate the shift to remote and hybrid work models. Joining me on the panel are two exceptionally experienced individuals. We've got the co founder and CMO of My Operator, Rimjim Rai, and our very own head of partnership and alliances, Anand Thand. They've got over 40 years of experience between them, and you'll be getting the best of that in just over 40 minutes. I hope you're excited. Before I head off, you'll see, please look towards the bottom right of your screen. You'll see a chat tab. Any and all questions you have for our speakers, please put them down there. Feel free to ask your questions. We'll be interacting with you, and towards the end of the session, our speakers will address all of your questions. So sit back, relax. Our speakers are about to dive into the future of call centers. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much,
Over to you,
Saleha.
Anand. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Alaya. That's really appreciated. Hey, Rimjim, welcome to the panel. It's going to be exciting next 40 minutes. So, without making our audience wait any further, let's dive into it and share our thoughts, views, and how my operator and Lead Square is solving today's problem and future-proofing our customers for a better technology adoptions in to come by. So, Rimji, before we start, I have a set of questions for you to set the stage for our audience, and especially there's a lot of been queries around, the latest TRI regulation. So, one of the quick questions I have is, in the regulation of TRI has come, right? What do you think will have a direct impact in outbound calls? And second, as a leading question I would have is, what best practices companies are adopting to one, fall in compliance with the TRI, and secondly is to build the processes and methodology or put the products in place which make them far more effective in reaching out to their set of customers. So over to you, Ranjit.
Right. So, the recent TRI regulations have had the industry in the turmoil for sure. Industry, marketers, businesses, even end customers. Uh, I think globally, and I just take a step back here. I think globally there is a movement on on anti-privacy infringement, anti-spam, because honestly, and if we just shift our head hats from being business people to being consumers ourselves, we ourselves get inundated with so many calls, WhatsApp messages, SMSs, not many of which are relevant to us. And every time, imagine your face every time you get one of those messages or one of those calls when you're in a busy meeting. I cringe. And definitely, like from a consumer and this consumer persona of all of us, the wider ecosystem, the larger country, or even globally, that governments across the world are trying to protect, or even regulatory bodies are trying to protect. Their principle is simple, that obviously as a business you reach out to customers, you want to have meaningful conversations with them, and your customers will also want to have those conversations with you, but don't spam, don't infringe on their privacy, do not disturb them if they do not want to be. So they want to put the power back in the hand of the consumer, which is legitimate. We'll obviously discuss the business implications of it. So this is at the heart of the tri regulations that have gone out, that you could definitely make transactional calls or informational calls if you're informing someone about the OTP, or about a order being delivered, a utility kind of a call which the customer is expecting. That is for sure okay, but they've come down heavily on promotional calls, especially automated promotional calls, which are often used by brands. Also, they have put a certain number of regulations about calling people on DND. So if you're calling people and you'd have to show opt-in proof. So I'm kind of simplifying the entire trial regulations in terms of simple takeaways for the industry, that you do not allow indiscriminate promotional calling. You definitely ask for they definitely ask your customers, which are businesses, calling end consumers, to have opt-in proofs. And third is definitely focus on utility based messaging, or conversations which are relevant to the customer. So contextualization is important. The ramification for it is, as we have seen on the on the telco industry, on the CPaaS industry, has been pretty huge. For a while, uh, lines have been suspended, businesses have been suspended, and very large businesses have had borne the brunt of it. At my operator, we have always been very careful, or we have been very uh, judicious about this, that we do not allow indiscriminate calls to go out. That obviously means a lot of the time saying no to large volume businesses. But we have done this because I really thought that this regulation would come sooner or later. Plus, you are not building a lot of business value out of just selling these kind of packages. You might make revenue in the short term, but there's no long term continuity in it. So that was our principle. So far, of course, I wouldn't be presumptive here to say that we have figured this entirely piece out. But having said that, we always used to promote, kind of follow stricter measures to make sure if someone is coming us with a promotional call requirement, they have got the right opt-ins. We purposefully didn't allow certain types of industries, where there are high chances of spam or fraud. We asked for very strict KYC. We asked for very strict processes to be maintained there. Now we have even tightened those processes further. I think as a business, if you and I'll talk about the implication on. I've talked about the implication on the CPaaS industry. So all of us have had to come up with the regulations. We have had to definitely have a number of meetings with try to understand this or to work around measures with this. The industry bodies like NASCOM working with us to help us understand these regulations better and design the appropriate processes. So I think as a business, as a CPaaS industry, we definitely have to get stricter in terms of our governance. In terms of the businesses that use platforms like ours to reach out to their customers, again, you will also have to take a step back in terms of your marketing approach or in terms of your outreach approach. Uh, World over, it's not just try as a platform. Look at platforms like Meta, for example. For a while, our WhatsApp inbox was inundated by brand messages which were not relevant, where we are not even opted in. Even Meta is kind of coming down very heavily on those, not allowing indiscriminate messaging. So as a business, your focus of outreach to customers, your focus on marketing, the approach that you have to these reach out to customers also has to become more structured, more strategic. You will have to take into consideration your customer preferences, your customers' relevance to your customers. So contextualize your communication. And if you still want to do promotional calls, try does have a workaround for that. You can call from a 140 kind of a number. But largely, I would say that I mean, the consumers are also becoming more and more numb to these kind of promotions. If you had sent indiscriminate SMSs or voice calls or WhatsApp some 5 6 7 years back, maybe you saw more click-through rates or you saw more conversions. Now if you do that same exercise, you do not get that kind of a conversion. So why are you spamming your customer, spending effort on a low conversion funnel, while risking while risking that your business would be blacklisted or would not be allowed on platforms, or would be blacklisted by the government. So it's time for all of us to maybe think, kind of think back and focus on the end consumer, think what is relevant for him or her, and structure our communication approach accordingly.
No, I really appreciate the thinking, right, that my operator is bringing on the table, right? It's not about winning customer for yourself. It's interesting to see that, or hear to the perspective that when you're bringing the customer on board, you're also mandating it or ensuring that they're, one, well aware of the policy and the guidelines. You put in the process to ensure that they are compliant to that guidelines and process. And in the event they're not compliant, you're helping them or assisting them or coaching them. How do they become a compliant to it, so that their business end of the day doesn't suffer
Right.
because of any violation to the regulation and all. But I have a follow-up question, right? In today's customers, which is extremely smart, right? And the new TRI regulation says the all kind of promotion, other messages, or the otherwise calls will have a prefix of 140 and 160, right? That's what it TRI reads around it, right? So if I'm the informed user, I know if anything coming from 140 and 160, I happen to disconnect it more often than the number used to, which is come from a random number, and I happen to pick it up and have a conversation. But do you think this would lead to larger disconnections of call? Because as a customer, I'm well aware that 140 and 160 prefix are the promotional or the other messages or OTP verification or any other such messages calls. So I don't necessarily have to pick it up, right? So what's your view on that?
See, I think there are solutions around this. So Try has now said no to all kind of calls, right? As a business, you can still call your customers for transactional or utility reasons, right? It's promotional calls that they're cracking heavily down on. Now, if you want to, I think you have to change your marketing approach for sure. If you're looking at doing call blasts to thousands of people who probably are not even opted in with you, so the efficacy of that messaging has anyway gone down. It's not just the 140 number or the 160 number. Now, if you see, a lot of the numbers that Google or Truecaller have started marking as spam. So the utility of, numbers which heavily spam have anyway gone down, whether on, irrespective of the prefix you kind of use. A lot of customers who work with us work with solutions like Truecaller. So, for example, I'll give you a use case of a clinic. It's a fertility clinic based out of NCR, and they do a lot of calls to their customers or which are prospective parents. So they have to keep calling them to inform them of their cycle of the test, remind them of the test, etc. But they face this problem where even the numbers were being marked as spam. So they worked with us and worked with Truecaller. We worked on an integrated solution where the business is displayed with a verified tick. The reason for calling is comes up. When you have a legitimate reason to call a customer, there are legitimate ways to do it. There are legitimate ways of being whitelisted to your customer. It is only when you are looking at a spam calling, or if you're looking at a bulk calling, this is where a number of restrictions have come in.
Interesting. No, that's interesting. So you're saying basically the current tools and processes which is there in, for a consumer like a Truecaller or any other product is anyway is coming as is acting as a smart gatekeeper to avoid
Yes.
these getting clocked in. So it will not have a major adoption challenge for the companies who genuinely want to do 140 and
Yes.
160, because they would not fall into those categorization of spam as regulated B, because they would be genuinely reaching out to the customer who probably would have done the opt-in process or would have done another one of the other ways of receiving their calls and messages. That's interesting to hear about it, right?
No, so
So
they could
yeah,
sorry, stopping you there. They could still do transactional calls from non-zero 140 and 160 numbers. So if there's a transactional call, if they're just doing utility calls, they don't
yeah,
need to use those specific series. It's when they're doing promotional calls that the series like these would be required. So
understood.
if you were like I gave you the example of this clinic, like they're a regular DND number, a
Yeah,
011 kind of a number. But the 011 kind of a number also, a lot of the times the customers aren't picking up because they have not saved that number. Right? Nowadays, often you see, even we tend to ignore a number if we do not recognize the number, or Truecaller doesn't show us as a legitimate number, or Google My Business doesn't show it as a legitimate business. The same thing was happening to it where we worked on a solution along with Truecaller, which we have done with several other clients as well. How can we proactively get them whitelisted? Plus, our smart move is to that if you have a lot of utility calls with your customer, make sure that your number is saved by the customer, right? Or you've got the right opt-in proof for them. If you have the right proof, you have the right process, you are not going to be penalized. So that's it. I mean, that like the regulation might seem overwhelming right now, but try is not going to, or the regulation are not trying to penalize businesses who are making customer connections for the right reasons.
no, interesting. I think if somebody plays it smart and somebody plays it in the regulation framework, over
Yes.
the period of time, I think their stack ranking will continue to go up, right? For example, if you have a WhatsApp for business, I'm just using as a paraphrase, right? And number of times you get reported, you tend to get a limited ability to send bulk messages, right? So if, for example, if I send a 10,000 messages and 5,000 people end up reporting me, my next broadcast of the message would anyway get limited to 2,000.
Right.
Vis-a-vis, if I send it to 10,000 people and 9,000 end up receiving and reacting to my messages, my next blast could be up Meta automatically using AI, increasing my next larger communication blast to probably 100,000 or 200,000 database altogether. So I think that from a technology standpoint, if you're on the right side of the law and if you're
Yes.
right side of the process, and when your business will get over the period of time, start getting more adoption and start getting more acceptability. Therefore, your number tend to be not to be blocked by the customer,
Right.
and adoption of your messages could be much faster. Yeah, I think that's
Right.
that's that's a very fair way of looking into it. So what we'll do, Remjan, I think that we have about another 30 odd minutes. So we'll give 15 minutes to each of us. You let's talk about your products and the presentation you have, uh, and walk us through about your product and features. And I'll probably pick up a thread that once the customer has been acquired using uh, great solutions like My Operator or has been engaged, their journey on Lead Square, how it is, and how best it can be monetized, and how best it can be exercised. I'll walk up that path. But the very first part, how are we outreaching to the customer using My Operator as a tool and a technology? I think audience would love to hear a lot more about it. So over to you.
Sure, thank you. Let me see if I'm able to share the slides. Yes.
It's already there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Right. So, thanks, Anand, for handing over the stage. And of course, Lee Square has been has been a very, very strong partner with us. But let's explain, what is My Operator. Then I'll probably say, let's just go back to the first slide. Just go back. And then I'll go back into how we work together, and how we combinedly create value for the businesses as well as for the end customers. So My Operator is a cloud communications platform, and we've been there for 12 years. So we have been in the industry for over a decade, working with some of the biggest businesses. So we talked about some examples, but we have over 10,000 plus customers, including the likes of Lenskart, Amazon, Big Basket, HDFC, IRCTC, NCRT. So we worked across, and I often joke that we are one player which we work on all sides of the political spectrum. We work with state governments across, irrespective of political affiliation. We work with a number of utility companies across, public utility companies across, and we work with some of the best startups. So it's a wide spectrum of customers that we are very proud to serve. We have been a leading player in voice, handling over billion plus calls in a year. But lately, and this is a conversation we were having earlier during the day also, Anand, we see a shift in the customer behavior. So we see the shift in the customer behavior in the last few years. People are not just calling you, people are also chatting with you. And in India, one of the chat platform has rapidly evolved to be a WhatsApp. India is WhatsApp's biggest platform, very high adoption of WhatsApp business here, which is also what makes Meta very excited about this market. So we are also talking about an omni-channel communication right now to make sure that businesses have the most meaningful channels to connect with the end consumer. That's what we want to do. The mission is that businesses which operate with us, businesses that we enable, have the right channel, have the right kind of a technology to reach out to the customer more and more meaningfully. So we offer you a full stack WhatsApp plus call communication, which enables you to again connect to your end customers, end consumers, and work on meaningful interactions with them. Next slide, please. Previous one. I'll say when you have to change the slide, please. Yeah. So we talked about some of these customers, and we talked about the full stack solution that we have. So cloud call center, which we are, of course, now it has become more of a cloud contact center because we're talking about voice plus WhatsApp plus AI. In the last couple of years, there's been a large shift. And of course, consumer behavior was already shifting. Right now, I'm not very happy when a Swiggy delivery agent calls me. Nothing against it. It's just that a call is intrusive a lot of the times, right? Most of the times, I prefer talking to him on chat. Now, with the consumer behavior has shifted, and then technology also shifted rapidly in the last couple of years. WhatsApp API came in 22. Generative AI is something that came last year, and I think has changed the spectrum of communication. So right now we are able to build bots for our end consumers very easily using a Gen AI platform, so that businesses, of course, any call center, contact center employ hundreds of people. That still remains relevant. The human touch still remains relevant, but maybe a lot of your mundane tasks, a lot of your repetitive questions can be answered by AI. So leveraging all of the power of voice, WhatsApp, and API to AI together, we're able to offer full-fledged contact center solutions. Of course, traditional favorites, which are still used by a number of businesses, include Office IVR, campaign management, which infuses the gamut of SMS, WhatsApp, calls, but maybe would be doing, that is subject to the governance by TRI regulations. Call masking, multi-store telephony, because retail is one of the largest, retail is one of the very large markets for us. Companies like Lenskart, Carrot Lane, Domino's are all customers. So multi-store telephony is a specialized solution that we have got for retailers with several stores across India. And next slide. So some of the philosophy of our product suite is, which as I've been talking about, we are omni-channel. We're talking about mobile first because the form factor that end consumers are using have been changing ever since smartphone came. We're talking about AI power. It's not just AI powered analytics. We're talking about bringing AI in the spectrum of the entire conversation so that can be eased up for business as well as end consumer. And we try to make this as no code as possible for the businesses that use us. So the way that we have built our API structure, the way we have built our platform, that it can be set up in less than a day. The standard platform can be set up in less than a day. In fact, there's a case study, for probably I wouldn't have the time to talk about it in detail, but just one liner on it. This was PwC during COVID. They had to set up a contact center within a day to cater to all of the employee claims, but actually set up in less than a day using our platform. And the way that we made it extensible enough that the developers or system integrator can come on it and and very easily customize it for the businesses and serve any kind of use cases. And next slide. So a little about the products that we do. So the next gen cloud call center, we talked about being omni-channel, VoIP enabled, auto dialing. So we are I think, very proud of our product and engineering team. They're constantly working to make sure that we stay ahead of the curve. We've been very scalable and secure. In fact, apart from the fact that we have had one of the least related issues over the last 12 years, and 12 years is a long time, we have also had the least industry outages. This is where we have invested a lot into redundancy, into business continuity and support, and enterprise grade security. I think we are happy, we are happy being the solid, robust guys of the industry. Obviously, growth is very important to us, but growth doesn't come for us at the expense of the businesses. It's very important for us that the businesses keep running. And we're talking about, while we are scalable and secure and we have our foot firmly planted on the ground, we're also enterprise 3.0 ready. So we're talking about AI, we talk about enterprise and integration, and something very close to my heart. We talk about being mobile first, because that's the form factor that many of your end consumers are. If you are not mobile compliant, your consumers would probably have a problem using you. Next slide. And so I talked about a call plus WhatsApp pivot, and I think this is one of the boldest bets that we're taking right now. So while for the first few years or first many years of our existence, we have essentially been a voice company. We're now talking about being a call plus WhatsApp company, so that WhatsApp, which is now the preferred medium of choice for your end consumer, we're talking about a move to conversational commerce. And we're talking about chat, chat not just enabling interaction, but chat enabling commerce too. I was at the WhatsApp Business API Summit just last week at Mumbai, and Meta talked about a very bold vision, unveiling conversational commerce. We want to be one of the key players enabling this. India is at a very interesting junction right now. We are one of the fastest growing economies. We are a very young population, and we have the next billion rising here, right? We're talking about 500 million new internet users coming online. Just think about the revolution that is happening. So I was at a meeting with ONDC a couple of weeks back, and ONDC clearly says that still, only 2% of commerce that could have gone online is still online, despite all of the e-commerce penetration. So there's a need of taking commerce to the smallest of merchant, even not just the large enterprises. And how best can we do it other than enabling conversational commerce? Even the large enterprises are adopting more and more chat-based commerce to make life easier for the end customer, to reach the customers where they are. So again, WhatsApp is a very important part of that play to help us enable chat-based or conversational commerce, a 360-degree solution for our businesses. Next slide. Right. So I talked about mobility, right? Again, and this has been necessitated more by the 2 years of COVID, right? COVID was really a black swan event, but it also kind of helped us rethink a lot of our practices. Even now, my operator is largely a hybrid company. In fact, we're a remote first company where a lot of our people walk across the country. Someone is in Kashmir to someone is in Goa. We have people walking all over, and I think there's this very nice culture that we have on the office chat of people putting their desk photos, someone in Goa, someone in Northeast, someone probably taking a vacation abroad, but they're all working from wherever they are. But this obviously comes in with its own share of challenges. I mean, this is not just for us. A lot of companies have gone hybrid after COVID. So a lot of our people are kind of out in the field or working from home, working remotely. How do you all connect them? Regular desktop solutions no longer work. So you've got this entire line called the My Operator corporate line, where you can enable your field force, your remote workers, your account managers, your corporate sales team with mobile numbers that can be integrated easily with a CRM like Lead Square, uh, with our own analytics dashboard, where any call, any interaction that is going through this corporate line can be managed, can be even monitored centrally, can all be kind of accumulated together so that you're not losing track of any of the communication, even if it is happening on field. This is a very important. In fact, the haptic is one of the biggest users of the corporate lines. If you have, especially if you have account managers, think of a scenario where you've got a number of field sales representatives or account managers going and meeting respective customers. If you're not managing that interaction on the fly, if CRM entries is not happening on the fly, by the time that person comes back to the office, you might have forgotten a lot of things. Here, because in enabling a solution like this integrated with a CRM, you have got on the go CRM adoption happening. So this is where again a Lead Square My Operator integrations comes into picture. The front end is enabled by an enterprise dialer app with a number of features, dashboards that a manager can monitor, that even your business leaders can monitor. While at the back end there would be a CRM which making sure that all of your sales transactions or sales conversations, even on the go, are being recorded here. Next slide. Office IVR is a very staple solution. When I think probably at least this audience would know what an IVR is. Call up an HDFC bank. They say dial one for support, dial two for sales, etc., etc. We enable IVR for again as like I said, some of India's best businesses. Barbecue Nations, one a favorite restaurant that at least someone who loves buffet have all gone to. All of their IVR lines, for example, runs on My Operators. If you're calling up My Barbecue Nation and ordering your favorite chicken tikka, you're dialing through us. Similarly, Wow Momo dials through us. There's PwC, there's Magic Paint, some of our favorite brands. HDFC Argo, proud to say that they're all enabling their customer communication on My Operator. Next slide. All right, my favorite slide of the day, not saying this because it's a Lead Square webinar, but Lead Square has been a great partner. And we have a very integrated partner ecosystem. Of course, we work with several partners, right? From I talked about Truecaller, we work with a number of CRM partners. We work with people like Meta or some of the larger big tech. We also work with a number of help desk solutions, etc. Lead Square is a very key important partner, and there are a number of customers that we have already worked on together. There's a very robust pipeline that we're working on. The idea is that there are two aspects of it, right? You definitely need the engagement, which is the platform that we provide you, and you need to contextualize that engagement. To make sure you're not losing it, you need to store it in a CRM. You need to add more data on top of it. You need to enrich it, and together these two solutions gives you the best real-time contextual data that you can have with your customers. If you're calling out someone, you already know the number of interactions that they have had with you, what kind of a buying behavior they've had with you. So on the fly, your agents, your support team is able to contextualize that information. You're able to store the data to make sure that you're able to reach out to them with more relevant messages. So you're not getting blocked. So try your Meta doesn't come to you and say, hey, so many people blocked you, because you know everything about them. You know their preferences. You're able to reach out to them at the right time with the right offer, the right solution. So this is where our partner ecosystem definitely helps. Next slide. Right, we have a campaign management suite. We have WhatsApp, SMS, missed call, voice broadcast. I wouldn't want to comment on for now. There's a number of regulatory framework that we're still dealing with, but we have been very, like I said in the beginning, we have been very cautious about who can use a voice broadcast platform. There are deals that we have let go of, and even now, this is not something that we would want to kind of hype up. But WhatsApp campaigns, SMS, on missed calls are all there. And again, we definitely urge you or encourage you to contextualize your campaigns as much as possible. Don't spray and pray. That doesn't work. Your money is important, your time is important, your customers' time is important. So make sure that we work with our end customers to help design the kind of campaign that will have the maximum results. So happy to work with you on that. I think that's it about, that's about, of course, yeah, with campaigns comes the rich analytics and the survey. See, one advantage of working with the omni-channel player with us is we are adding more and more features on the platform to bring all of it in one place. So you're reaching someone out on SMS, someone on chat, someone on WhatsApp, someone on voice. All of those conversations come together to give you a 360-degree angle, number one. Number two, you're not having to switch multiple dashboards. And at the end of the day, you would want convenience. You'd probably want solutions that that stick the various pieces of your communication puzzle into one platform and make life easier for you. Again, some very good names that we are proud to work with. Apollo Hospital. Apollo Hospitals runs all of their campaigns through us. So it's not voice campaigns. Just kind of bear with me for 30 seconds to hear what Apollo does without spamming people. What they have done is they have hybridized their ads. They use our numbers, which are smart numbers, in their print ads, in their offline ads. And those numbers then have, so any calls to those numbers then automatically get captured in a campaign management suite. So Apollo at any point of time can know whether their hoarding in Hyderabad worked or their hoarding in Calcutta worked. But there are different smart numbers associated with these hoardings. And each of these numbers, all the calls, etc., can then comes with its own share of analytics. So you can have very smart campaigns while working on our platform. Again, Akash is a great example of student communication that works with us. So Wow Momo, again, an iconic brand. All of these, again, we are working with them every day on a day-to-day basis. Now with the festive seasons coming up, we are working with our customers, and a lot of them are D2C brands, retailers, etc., to make sure that they get the maximum bang for their buck and deliver intelligent campaigns for their customers. Next slide. Right. So I think that's all about what My Operator stands for, what we offer to you. And then hand it over back to you, Anand, and would be happy to take questions at the end.
Okay, great. So in interest of time, we have 32 minutes down. We have another lot of questions being asked from a lot of audience, and I really appreciate that. So, I'm sure that a lot of the audience is very smart enough to understand there are two parts to it. One is where the lead comes in, which is the products like My Operator. There's a significant role in connecting the last mile, which is between the company and the end customer. But what goes inside the company as a CRM product, where the optimizations of these tools are extensively done, is where the lead scale picks it up and being deployed and used by many of these larger brands, which Rimjim has talked about, using Lead Square to optimize both the products running hand in glove situation, right? So I'll keep it simple. So let's talk about it, right? So very first thing, I'll do it myself. So for example, when we look at the very first, the most essential things comes into place when the lead comes our way, right? When the call has gone from My Operator and there is a lead has been generated, as simple as she talked about ordering your favorite chicken tikka on that matter. And if the operator wants to know which is your closest restaurant offering this product at this point of time, that need to be optimized basis 2 or 3 things. One, where is the lead coming from? So that if it's coming from Bangalore code number 560064, and there are these 3 restaurants, it should not end up landing in Hyderabad with a different code. So these optimizations of leads, which are their inputs, which are their location, demography, product usage. At the same time, most important thing is your agent who's available, who's using these the outbound calling, is available to take the call. So if there are 20 agents sitting down right now, the call is either round-robinly moved between the agents or basis the agent performance and the language preference. I'm a Punjabi guy, can understand and react on the Punjabi language very, very well, for example. And if the query is coming from Ludhiana, then I should get the priority to answer that question, where the lead going to go, right? So the whole lot of the preferences, which can be optimized or can be put in Lead Squared, which allows your agents to be far more productive in the environments to come by, right? And this is how the flow would look like, right? So for example, when you're looking at the complete optimization of a flow, when a lead is created, you're able to send that email, you wait for 1 day, and you're able to send the automated process and flow out together, which is what basically means you're not spamming your end customer. uh, you don't have to really react on the every 2 minute basis, 10 minute basis to come by and talk about it that this is a product, this is service available. You optimize it in a way that customer appreciate that knowledge basis the time and the duration gaps you have given. And those processes need not to be done manually. These are entirely done in an automated fashion using again lead squares, mission edge product and suites which we have to offer in the place, right? Um, let's talk about a productivity, right? One of the most things people talked about it, right, during my early sales days. Uh, what you see is what you remember the most, right? And that's why some of the reels and some of the TikToks and some of the channels have become extremely popular, because you may not remember the lyrics of the song, but you possibly would remember the dance move of the songs, right? So dashboard is the one of the most interesting and intrigued way for agents to know how productive I am as of today morning, versus my inflow of the lead versus my peers. So you're able to customize very interesting dashboards for your agents, for their managers and managers, for able to see the productivity is being increased. They're able to focus on what matters the most, which is their prospects. They can focus on which leads they need to follow up as per the reminders in automated way. But it's allowed them, systems allow them to get far more productive in a way than doing in a many manual ways in that space, right? So that's allows you to keep your productivity and pitch documents extremely simple and extremely effective to the customer when it comes to in that space. This is one of my favorite ones. Uh, how often we struggle to send one message to across multiple platform, right? If I have received a very interesting message, or I would like to communicate to my customer who's possibly available in multiple channels to me. When I say channels, email is a channel, text is a channel, WhatsApp is a channel, Insta is a channel, and multiple other ways are the channels, right? How do I ensure that Rimjim reacts most effective when she gets the personalized message on Insta, or Anand react most effective when I get the SMS, right? These are the self-automated ways and the triggered communication, which our algorithm picks it up over the period of time and send those smart messages, smart communication to those smart channels only, where my response level to receive, react, and respond to those messages or the communication is the highest per se. These again coming as out of the box product, which suits the most of the client's requirement to come by, right? And of course, it talks about your whole lot of things, which is pending renewals, low productivity, and increasing, making sure that your page and other things are well optimized and well used in that space. Uh, then I want to talk about it. Rimjim talked in a minute is about number masking, right? A lot of time because of the compliance, we cater to a lot in financial segment. We cater a lot about in healthcare segments. A lot of time, this is one of the very specific demand which comes from the customer is that we want our numbers to be completely masked, but available on a single click dial options. So in that environment, we enable those customers, the companies and the solutions is enabled for a customer to outreach and connect with a set of the customers effectively and more eagerly, without really talking or sharing the customers personal information, which is their mobile numbers or any other confidential or a privacy related information, which is completely can be taken care of with single clicks in a product like Lead Square. And of course, in some cases, it's also been taken care in a product like My Operator in that space. So this is the end game look like, and I wanted to keep it sharp and clean. This is how your agents view the data, right? Look at the amount of performance he would have. Look at the amount of dashboards they will be able to create, which will be their self-created dashboard against how I'm doing against my peers, how am I doing against my targets, which are the segment and the customer I need to focus on to build my solution sets and so on and so forth. But I'm able to stay focused to increase my productivity, therefore my sales and therefore my outcomes, which comes into play. So with this, we are, Slay, if you'd like to bring it up, the questions which is being asked by the audience, I think that would be important for people to know.
Yes, thank you so much, Anand and Rimjim. Exceptional insights from you. Uh, let's take some of the questions that we have in the chat.
Sure.
So Kaushik wants to know what is the best and fastest way to get opt-in or consent from a customer?
Jim, you want to take it up? Jim, you're on a mute in case you speak.
Yeah. So there are a couple of ways that you can do. For instance, for example, you're on WhatsApp. A chatbot can be deployed to take an opt-in. If a person, so that is one. Second is you could definitely in the lead form that a person fills up with you, have a checkbox where you say that I am authorizing, and with a proper link to your terms and conditions. If a person is clicking there and maintain that data to make sure that you're able to show that opt-in proof. So enhancing your forms, B, adding it into your so WhatsApp chatbots. Also, the one best practice is by uh, so that your WhatsApp etc. do not go into spam, or your WhatsApp your Meta is not penalizing you or blocking your WhatsApp API. Have an opt out included with your message. So instead of, if you're not giving an opt out, a number of times what people do is by default then go and click on you and report you as spam. On the other hand, if you have an opt out included in your message, what will happen is the person will click on it instead. So the next time you're sending messages, if you have a proper WhatsApp platform on which you're working, that opt out will be factored in. So you're no longer sending it to message. So people who have already opted out of your communication. So these would be some of the best practices to consciously record opt-in, B, to also make sure that you're monitoring your opt-outs and not sending messages to people who have already opted out.
Another question from Samir. So it's a use case. They have an event management company and they want to know how do they manage calls with B2B companies? How do you deal with B2B marketing calls? We are an event management company and call prospects for inviting them to the event. So how do you manage these calls?
No easy answer for you, unfortunately, because TRI is very categorical that you'll have to show opt-in proof. If some, for example, one of your prospects, so you'll have to check DND list, right? If one of your prospects, we do not allow DND. In fact, we do not allow DND calling consciously. But if you are making a call and the customer is on DND and then they go and make a complaint, then it is very, then TRI would come down heavily on you. That would also heavily come down on the operator who is enabling you. So the best thing for you is to have opt-ins of the people that you're calling up to. Maybe these are prospects you have engaged with before, so you have taken an opt-in from them. Number one. Second is you could still try reaching out on WhatsApp, though even Meta is making it more tougher to send out indiscriminate marketing. So the end of the day is all about relevance. So for instance, a B2B marketing and you have a seminar on say CPaaS. If you're calling out to me and it's a CPaaS seminar attended by the CXOs of the world, I'd probably be happy to listen to you. But if you're maybe reaching out to me with a HR conclave, it might not be relevant for me. So I think what these regulations are forcing each of the marketer to do is to focus on what is relevant to the end audience. A lot of the times, if you are reaching out with the right message, relevant message at the right time of the day to the person, it's not likely to report you, not likely to complain. Rather, it's probably going to be welcoming of the message because that is something which is useful to him. So I think A is focus on the relevance. B is look at platforms like WhatsApp, but there also make sure that you're giving an opt-out. And C, make sure that your database is remaining relevant. So the days where you could just purchase the database and do blasts to them, I think that those days are over. The days of indiscriminate marketing are over. And in the new world that we operate in with all these regulations in place, we definitely have to think about relevance and the context in which we are sending messages to our end customers.
All right. Thanks, Vincent. On the same vein, you've got a follow-up question. So, are there any restrictions on voice blast?
Oh, there is a lot of restrictions on voice blast. So in fact, Meta is heavily coming down on voice blast. They again, like Anand said in the beginning, there are certain number series through which you can make promotional calls. But in general, around this time, I think most CPaaS players will also be very, very, very careful about about supporting voice blast for a business.
Got it. So We got another use case question. So Ashish wants to know that customers who once registered as try DND years ago
Mm.
and they cannot be called now, but they're actually interested in a callback now. So how do you deal with that kind of a situation?
So if it's a callback, if it's an utility call, you see try takes action when there are complaints, right? If it's he has requested callback, most likely if you're going to call him, is not going to report you. So that situation should not come. If there is a challenge, if by any chance your line still gets blocked, there's always appeal, right? And then you can show the the request for callback or the opt-in proof to your specific messages.
Got it. We've got another question from Pinky who wants to know that as we are shifting to remote and hybrid work models, how do you ensure superior service quality and employee well-being in this new environment? How do you optimize customer service
Employee
in this
what?
shift?
Sorry, employee.
So as we shift into remote and hybrid work models, how do you ensure consistent customer service as well as employee well-being as they'll
Okay.
be working remotely?
Okay, I think I'll just answer the first part of the question, and I think Anand can add a lot of value to this because I think Lead Square being a unicorn, and working with several businesses, I'd also want Anand to take this question. But from so there are two parts of it, right? One is your HR practices. I'm going a little non-technical here. You're the and I think here it is a lot about humans. You're dealing with people at the end of the day, not dealing with machines. So I'll not just say monitor, put time doctors. In fact, I'm very anti all of those things. So there are certain things, in certain functions like sales, you'd probably need recording. You'd probably need, your data to be synced with the CRM. So you'd probably need something like a solution which enables you to do that. So there's some amount of call quality, monitoring, etc. But in general, right, you're dealing with humans at the end of the day. So I'm not pro that, you put up a lot of time doctors, etc. All of those are technical solutions. And that I'm sure your HR team can figure out. At the end of the day, you have to create a culture. You have to create that kind of a culture where high performing employees, high performing people thrive. And here, I believe in the Netflix philosophy. If you read this book by Reid Hoffman, No Rules Rules, a workplace which rewards high performance, which provides that kind of a culture. I don't think enabling remote work or even getting the best out of your employees in a remote scenario is so too difficult. So there's no just technical solution to it. This is you have a lot of technical solutions, but for this question I don't want to answer it technical. I'd say that it's a cultural challenge, and it's something that your leadership, your business leaders have to solve coming together. Over to you, Anand. I definitely want to hear your views on this.
No, I think you said it nice, right? So it's a lot of times human touch and human abilities to do that, and if you stay focused on that thing, that should solve. I think you put it up very very nicely and briefly. I wouldn't not done a better job than you the way you illustrated and put it up in a nice and brief way. Yeah, we can go to the next question if there are any.
Yes, we have a few more questions. We got a question from Prem. Do WhatsApp plus call, will that be helpful for mental health helpline institutes? And how can you enhance those features for a smoother business?
For the mental health line, WhatsApp plus call will be helpful with the mental health line institute. How can we enhance the feature for smoother business? I think that's a very nice question. A way of putting it across is how do we ensure that technology is really reaching to the humanity to the last mile, right? Yes, it will, right? And I tell you how. In terms of the mental health line institute, a lot of time, uh, and I have a growing up kids at home, and I know they go through so much of stress in academics and their peer pressures and everything else, and all together. And more often, they feel extremely shy to talk to us as a parents because they feel that we probably would judge them or they may not get the best advice they would see. So then a lot of time they shy off and they reach out to two things. One of the things is their friends who are at their age and can offer only limited knowledge. And the second piece is that is the online ecosystem, right? Whether it's Google's and anything else, and try to put together the thoughts and or process. But what if we have the options being available on a WhatsApp where as a student or as a kid or as a lady or as a mature adult or whatever the stress one is going through, without revealing my identity, even my own voice, without revealing my own identity, can I be given a personal consultation, or can I be heard, or can I be given a rightful advice? I think that could work out extremely brilliant in a way. And of course, having a call as a feature on that, with a single click dial on, can only enable the human to connect with the required help he or she could get in a very seamless way altogether in that space. So yes, I completely concur that. And as a father, and I've seen them reaching out to their peers and friends, and I wish there are tools, there are such mental health institutes available, or guide and coaches available, which for which the student or the kids or anybody else for that matter doesn't need to really reveal their identity and still be coached around that.
Yeah, I think great, well answered. We support a lot of NGO and health institute helplines. These kind of institutes, right? Childcare helplines, mental health helplines, and we often implement a lot of these projects at a very nominal cost or even pro bono as a way of giving back, because it's very important. The busier the world is getting, the world is getting more and more isolated. So I kind of identify with Anand said, when I have got a growing daughter, see that, the generations are becoming progressively lonelier. So if having someone to talk to, that's great. Two more things I just wanted to add here. Discovered a very interesting startup last week. We yet to try them at the WhatsApp Business Summit. They call themselves Habilt. So they are encouraging people to have more meaningful mental health and meaningful lives through yoga, meditation. And they're building that, those practices entirely through WhatsApp. So they're, by sending them nudges, etc., at the right time, encouraging them to speak in groups. So definitely there are startups coming up investing in that space, and we as communication enablers can create the right platform for them to reach out to the end audience. Plus, I think AI, Microsoft has come up with this bot, right? Rue, which as an AI enabled voice can also have a conversation with you, which can also give you advice, which can probably also care. There can be obviously ethical debates on, can a machine really care? But the fact is that everyone is talking about mental health. Everyone is trying to innovate. The best of tech companies are trying to innovate for mental health. That says that, we are at least giving importance to this very important field.
Thank you, Ramjan. Thank you, Anand. That's about it. We don't have any more questions. Thank you so much. This has been an exceptionally informational and insightful session. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
And thank you, audience. I think this was a really, really engaged audience.
Yeah.
And a lot of challenges thrown at us in terms of questions.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.